Adam Peters is a really popular man. He's a finalist for one job, interviewing for other jobs around the NFL. And who do the 49ers want to face most in the divisional round after wildcard weekend? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big ups to all the everydayers out there. Make sure you are subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. All right, Croc. News about Adam Peters. He's very in demand around the NFL. Tons of job openings. Belichick added to Carroll. I mean, this is a nuts hiring cycle for coaches in the NFL. I want to get into all of that today, but let's start with the wild card playoff round, Croc, and let's rank them out. Who do you think are the teams who are the teams that the 49ers would be best off playing against? And we can talk about other things like maybe what matchups we want to see the most, but the idea is to hold up that Lombardi in February, right, Croc? So what's the easiest path to get there, do you think? So who do you want to see the 49ers playing in round 2 of the playoffs after this bye?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for sure. You know, a lot of what has to do with how far you can go and whatnot and how teams play, a lot of times it kind of starts at the quarterback position. And Baker Mayfield, playing very well this year, one of his better seasons of his career for sure, and maybe earned him some money come this offseason. Maybe he stays with Tampa Bay. But if you're looking at the 49ers, the way they're built, they're kind of built to disrupt a lot of what he likes to do and kind of get him to get a little uncomfortable. And Baker Mayfield, you start getting him uncomfortable, he starts doing some weird things. So I think that's the first team that pops in my mind for sure. Either them, maybe the Green Bay Packers, just because of how youthful they are. They don't have the Mike Evans. They don't have the Godwins. They don't have a lot of guys that have just been there, done that at the receiver position. Matter of fact, Jordan Love right now is doing it with the youngest core group of pass catchers in like NFL history, right? Like it's historically young. So I'd say one of those two, but I'm starting with Baker Mayfield.
Rick in the chat says first team all-pro podcasters, Croc and Peacock. Love that. Team P-Croc. And who else said, oh yeah, Todd in the chat, we better not lose Peacock or Crocker to another team. I don't believe I'm a finalist for any other jobs, Croc. I haven't heard from my boy Bob Myers. He hasn't contacted me about interviewing for anything over in Washington. So I think I'm out on that job too. So I think Croc and Peacock are here to stay at Locked On 49ers. Unless you got other plans, Croc. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you.
Not that I know of. Unless it's ESPN come calling, and I don't think that's going to happen. So
there's been some coaching opportunities for you out there, Croc. There's
yeah, but
don't sleep on Crocker's demand out there in the world, especially in the 209.
In the 209, and I've had some other opportunities to coach at like even the Arena Football League level. But everyone knows, first and foremost, I have to have time to do my Locked On 49ers podcast. So that's written into any contract that is given to me.
Is halftime 30 minutes long? Kind of squeeze it in there before the second half of an Arena League game?
Give or take a few minutes. I could probably be a few minutes late.
How about this? Do you think it benefits the 49ers more to face a team from Monday night on short rest or to know who the opponent's going to be immediately on Sunday in the earliest game possible so they can get preparing? Would you rather prepare for an extra day, or would you rather play a team that's beat up and has one day less rest on their side?
I think that depends on who they're playing. You know, if they're playing one of these teams, like let's say, especially like the Green Bay Packers, 49ers are just going to play their game. Not saying you don't have to game plan against them and get ready for it, but that's one of those games where Kyle Shanahan's going to be like, you know what, I like to do this, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do that at will against this opponent. But, you know, ideally, yeah, that way. Now, if you're playing, let's say, the Philadelphia Eagles, then you would like them to be a little bit beat up and come in on short rest. And they have to travel across the country as well. Definitely.
Yeah, they're going to Tampa, and then you got to go all the way back to San Francisco after Philadelphia. It's a lot of travel on a short week. 49ers have tons of rest. The Eagles would be coming off super short rest, or Tampa be coming across the country as well. So let me break it down first here for the listeners that might not know exactly what the scenario is here for the 49ers, and really kind of doing the 49ers a solid, I think, as far as rest goes, because they're all AFC games on Saturday. It's Brown-Texans early on Saturday. Then after Browns-Texans, it's Dolphins-Chiefs Saturday night. And then Sunday is both or two of the three NFC games, and they're the late games. So the early game is Steelers-Bills. So all three AFC games will be done by Sunday morning Pacific time. And then the 1:30 p.m. kickoff Pacific is Packers at Cowboys, which is the earliest we could learn who the 49ers are going to play, because if the Packers win, the 49ers are playing the Packers, because that'd be the lowest seed, and that would be the 7th seed that the 49ers are playing. Then it's Rams-Lions. If the Cowboys beat the Packers and the Rams beat the Lions, then it would be the Rams that the 49ers face next week in Santa Clara. And then the Monday nighter is Eagles and Buccaneers. And if both the 2 and 3 seed Cowboys and Packers, or Cowboys and Lions, the higher seeds win Sunday, the 49ers can't play either one of those teams, Cowboys and Lions. They would be playing Cowboys or Lions only in the NFC Championship, potentially. If those two teams win on Sunday, then whoever wins between Eagles and Bucks on Monday night is who the 49ers opponent will be in the divisional round. I'm not scared of any of those teams. The 49ers have beat most of the teams in the NFC playoffs. The team I would least want to play, and the 49ers can't play them next week, is the Detroit Lions, just because we haven't seen that matchup. A lot of people are talking about the Rams being hot. Rams don't scare me at all. Like, give me the Rams in round 2. I am not worried about the Los Angeles Rams. You saw the 49ers with the closest. We've seen them multiple times recently, right? And they had a really nice season. Props to Sean McVay with what he's done, with what he has. It is not a matchup with the 49ers. A full-strength 49ers team against a full-strength Rams team, that is not a matchup. That's varsity against JV. As good as Stafford is, as good as Aaron Donald is, Kupp can be a problem. I like Puka Nacua. But we saw early in the season when the 49ers played them, and even it was close earlier, like, yeah, you can't hang with us. And the 49ers walked away in the second half, right? And then at the beginning of the Week 18 game against the Rams, with Sam Darnold at quarterback, the closest thing we could have seen to what would have been good on good in that game, the Niners scored 17 points immediately. Boom, 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 down the field and scoring on them. So I'm not worried at all about playing the Rams. We've seen the 49ers already whip up on the Cowboys. We've seen the 49ers already whip up on the Bucks. We've seen the 49ers already whip up on the Eagles. And to be honest with you, the team I might most want to face right now, because I think they're the team playing the worst going into the playoffs, and their quarterback hasn't practiced because his finger's broken, and that's Jalen Hurts. I think the Eagles are the worst team in it, which is why I think the 49ers will probably end up playing the Bucks, if anything, because I don't know if the Eagles are going to get out of round 1.
I think they're going to play the Rams. And I'm not, like, definitely when it comes to the Rams and being scared of them and this hot team, they are playing good football. But I'm trying to think of, like, kind of the challenges that they present to the 49ers. One, having a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. Will he be Hall of Famer? I don't know, but he is playing at a very good level. And the way he finished the year, I would say, like, MVP level over that stretch of games, playing very well. They are much healthier now than they were at the beginning of the year. I mean, they were all Puka Nacua early on, and I don't think the 49ers have seen them out there with Cooper Kupp and Puka. And then Kyron Williams, he's really coming to his own as a running back late in the season. I mean, on PrizePicks, his rushing yard total, like, for the over-under or higher lower on that, or more or less, it was like 97. Like, that just tells you how well this guy is running. He's a threat out of the backfield as well. So they kind of pose some challenges there. Not sure what's going on with Tyler Higbee. Last time I checked, he was banged up. He was hurt. So if he's not coming back, I think that definitely bodes well. But they had to kind of weather the storm with a lot of injuries. And then defensively, a lot of good young guys on that defensive line, kind of carrying it for the back 7 guys. But I think they are challenging for teams. When you talk about the 49ers, it's hard to think of an opponent that poses such a threat to the 49ers that you should be worried. But you definitely look at certain things where, Matthew Stafford gets hot like he did in the first game, but then he turned it over twice late. So those are the things that you kind of look at in the sense of how that matchup may or may not look.
Short answer for the divisional round, Croc, it don't matter. I don't think it matters. Packers, Rams, Eagles, Bucks. The 49ers have to win that game. There's no chance. They're going to be favored by double digits against all those teams.
If you're the 49ers, I don't think it matters. Again, the thing going into it is play your game. Like, just play your game and don't turn the ball over. All losses, the recipe for disaster has been turning the ball over. If you don't do that, there's teams that can play a clean game and still get beat by 21 points by the 49ers. The 49ers, if they turn the ball over, that's how they're going to let these teams into these games. And that can definitely happen when we've seen it. We just saw it a few weeks ago in Baltimore. You can't let that happen.
Next, Croc. I want to
hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
So we got a comment here from Killing Me This. He says, stack the box against Kyron and trust the secondary against Cooper. See, I don't like that strategy.
Well, wasn't the Rams game the one where after the game they were like, we got to tighten up on our coverage? Like, we can play zone, but you still have to be next to a guy, right? Was that the game afterwards, or maybe that's the halftime adjustment they made in the second half, and they're like, well, we're playing a zone, but we're just letting them hang out in pockets and be open. We got to tighten up the coverage. I think that was the game that happened in the first half.
They definitely were playing softer. They played more man coverage in the second half. The difference is that, between that game and now, they do have Cooper Kupp back, which they did not have in that first match.
We saw Cooper Kupp go crazy against the 49ers in the past, and lining up in all kinds of different spots. So look, you can't overlook any of these teams because anybody can beat anybody. But I truly believe it doesn't matter who the opponents are, and none of those four teams poses a much bigger threat over any of the other teams if the 49ers play their game. Next, Croc, I want to talk a little bit about the AFC teams, because that might be where the biggest challenge lies for the 49ers, not to look too far ahead. Coaching carousel, Belichick joining Pete Carroll. What is going on right now? Wild news stories here, and wild week in the NFL. More Locked On 49ers live next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. It should be fun. You should be super excited, not let the ticket buying process bring you down before you go to that big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, including 49ers football, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. My favorite part, I hate hidden fees when it comes to buying tickets. You check it out, you think you got a certain price, and it is not that price at all. All-in prices at Gametime show you your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You buy tickets in a couple of taps right there on the app. You don't have to go fishing through email when you do get to your event. Deals right up to the start of the event, even an hour after the event starts at Gametime. It's the place for last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I'll tell you the teams that pose the biggest threat to the 49ers hoisting the Lombardi. And it's not in the NFC. It is in the AFC. It's the Ravens, and it's Pat Mahomes and the stinking Chiefs. And this is not the best version of the Chiefs. I don't know that the Chiefs are going to get there this year. We've seen Josh Allen go ham on the 49ers in recent history as well. So he's looming out there. The Bills aren't playing great. And we just saw what the Ravens did a few weeks ago. The Ravens are legit. But the 49ers saw them, and the 49ers now have something to go by when they play Lamar Jackson again. And, the boogeyman that is Patrick Mahomes. I would love to see 49ers Chiefs again. Now, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. The 49ers still got to get to the Super Bowl, and it's not easy. We may have been puffing out our chests a little bit in the last segment, acting like it's going to be easy no matter who the 49ers face. And I am confident in whoever the 49ers face in the divisional round and the NFC Championship game for that matter. But I do think the biggest threat to the 49ers Lombardi is in the AFC.
I think you'll have people come in and listen to how we're talking about the 49ers. Oh, they're so cocky. 49ers have the highest odds to win the Super Bowl. And that doesn't mean they're going to win it. But the reason why we feel as confident about this team is because everybody does. Everybody looks at the 49ers, best roster, best team, highest odds to win the Super Bowl. So if you're confident about, hey man, just play their game, they should win it all. Well, of course, because look how it's played out this season. Now, as far as the Kansas City Chiefs, they scare me too for some reason. It's almost like just, Steve Young back in the 90s, get that monkey off my back. Yeah. It's just one of those things where I just need to see us take down the boogeyman, and they are not strong this year. Like, I've watched a lot of Kansas City games, and I keep thinking that they're going to flip that switch. Like, they'll flip that switch. All of a sudden, they're going to snap out of it and be the Kansas City that we've known to see over the last few years. But I don't know. I keep waiting for that flip to switch, and it's still just turned off right now. So Patrick Mahomes definitely scares you. Andy Reid, as a coach, you have to definitely respect him, but it isn't the same team. The other teams you mentioned, though, tell you, sleeper team, the Cleveland Browns. If we're talking about a team that's
watch out for the Browns. And speaking of boogeyman, what about Joe Flacco, who beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl?
Golly, they beat and I understand context. 49ers have multiple injuries in that game, but they beat you with PJ Walker. Okay, so if there's no Nick Chubb, third string quarterback. And it took a lot of different things, right? The injuries from the 49ers, a missed field goal at the end of the game from Jake Moody, understandably so. But if you want to talk about a team that's playing very well right now, they are hot. And Joe Flacco, another guy kind of like Matthew Stafford, he finished the season extremely strong, straight off the couch, wherever he came from, whatever hole he climbed out of that hole and started playing elite football. The run game is working. Njoku's starting to come alive. He's scoring touchdowns every week. And we know what that defense is. Myles Garrett, the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year right now. So that is, you're talking about a scary team outside of the NFC. I think the Browns might be the scariest.
Anybody check the forecast in February? Is it going to rain? Wait, they have a lid on that thing in Las Vegas?
They have a lid on it in Las Vegas.
Okay. We'll have to wait
Charlene Crosley in the chat says Moody lost the game, not Purdy. I think if we're talking about just contributing to a loss, Purdy contributed a lot to that loss.
Yeah, as did Moody. Purdy got him down there, though. That was a game-winning drive that didn't get to count as a game-winning drive because Moody missed the kick. So I get where Charlie's coming from on that.
That was the Jimmy G special. So it's like when you finally do lose, even though you lost because of the kick, it's like, well, Jimmy, look how you played leading up to this moment. Jimmy had Robbie Gould. So in that situation, Robbie Gould came through, and then Jimmy became Jimmy W, regardless of how he played throughout the game.
Yep.
And we hadn't seen too much games like that from Brock, but we definitely did in that game.
So you're saying it was Robbie W all along and not Jimmy W?
I think that's what we're after Jimmy went to Las Vegas. I think that's what we should kind of attribute a lot of the W's to. More Robbie Gould than Jimmy G. I'm joking. Jimmy did a lot of great things for the 49ers. And I hate that how people are really, we could talk about this in the offseason, but they're very disrespectful to Jimmy G right now because he is going to Las Vegas and it hasn't turned out well. That was not the tone of 49er fans when he was a Niner, at all.
And Brock is better. That doesn't mean Jimmy was all of a sudden, a doorstop. He's just like worthless. So he was a good quarterback. Jimmy was a good Niner, and I'm glad we got Brock Purdy right now because he's balling out and he's fun to watch, and he is better than Jimmy. But Jimmy did win a lot of games, and Jimmy was a lot better than everything else the 49ers had for a long time too. All right, Croc. I want to get into a bunch of topics here. It was reported that Adam Peters, 49ers current assistant GM, is one of the two finalists for the Washington job, and he's got interviews elsewhere, and it does feel more and more like he's gone. Let's get into that next. And what about Belichick now, along with Carroll? Two legendary coaches, back-to-back days, Vrabel the day before that. What a wild coach hiring period it is. And thankfully, the 49ers do not have to be looking for a coach right now. One of the more stable organizations. Kyle Shanahan, we got to update the Kyle Shanahan numbers as well for his tenure in the NFL. All that and more coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Jace Medical and the Jace Case. And, we usually come here to rap about sports and escape the crazy realities of real life. But let's talk a little bit, just for a minute here, about preparing for real life. And according to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin. And I can't imagine what the helpless feeling might be like if you need some medication for you or your family. And supply chain issues are keeping you from those medications. Or if there are natural disasters, we've been through pandemics. Maybe you're just traveling and you don't have access to the medication you need. And so you want to be prepared. The Jace Case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, tons of other things. And this stuff could happen to any of us. So visit jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Complete your physician visit. It will be reviewed by a board certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than right now. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code Locked On to get $20 off your order. That is Jace Medical, JASE medical.com. So the report about Adam Peters, the latest about Adam Peters from Ian Rappaport. The first round of interviews have been completed in the last 48 hours by the Washington Commanders, and the finalists are expected to complete second interviews with the committee soon. For now, it's Adam Peters and Ian Cunningham. Ian Cunningham, I believe, is the assistant GM for Chicago Bears, right? And which is a weird organization to be.
GM for Chicago, isn't it right? Ryan Poles?
Yeah, Poles is the GM, so this is the assistant GM. So
assistant
Poles
GM.
is the John Lynch of. Sorry, that's disrespectful to John Lynch. I mean, they've done some good things recently, I think, in Chicago, but they
did one terrible thing. They're bringing back Eberflus. Like, I think that's just, you got the first pick, you got the 9th pick. You have an opportunity to kind of reset things and bring in a new coach to get some new energy in there.
They've already done this twice in a row. Do you remember? Not only Fields, but even before that, it was John Fox, right? Was the head coach in Chicago. They drafted Mitch Trubisky, then fired the head coach. So Mitch Trubisky's already on his second coach. And then Nagy, they draft Justin Fields. And then after Nagy's first year, they fire him. And then so there's a new coach for Justin Fields. It'd be the third time in a row if they did that and brought in a rookie quarterback. And even if Caleb Williams is the truth, unless he goes all CJ Stroud as a rookie, that's rare. And if you don't, they haven't shown that they're good at hiring an offensive coach. They haven't shown that they have got the talent on that team to help a quarterback thrive. And so if you're not good and then you get fired, they've done that for the 3rd straight time of drafting a quarterback with a coach on the hot seat and then fire him right after. I mean, there's no way you could possibly be successful with that formula. So I don't know if that's where you want to go for your GM either.
Well,
although he wasn't
remember
around.
this too. Fox did not want, like, he didn't want Trubisky. They like forced Trubisky on him. So you're already setting this marriage up for failure. Like, you're going to get divorced. Like, the head coach does not want this quarterback.
Yeah. So what does Peters even want that job? I don't know. But he's also interviewed with, or at least there have been requests for him to interview with the Chargers and the Raiders for those open GM jobs. So at least 3 teams want to. We don't know exactly when those interviews happen or if they've happened yet with the Chargers and the Raiders, and we will find out there. But it's feeling more and more like the 49ers are finally going to lose Adam Peters. But he takes interviews every year. He's turned down some opportunities. According to Albert Breer, I think it was, said that he might have taken the New York Giants job, but ended up going to Joe Shane, who hired his buddy from Buffalo in Brian Dable there. But you know what's fascinating to me? Speaking of Bears and Eberflus, maybe his job's not safe, because there's been a report from Diana Rossini of ESPN, and I believe Adam Schefter as well, reported that there's sort of a dark horse team out there that has a coach right now. They don't have a head coach vacancy, and that might have changed in the last 3 days because Vrabel, Carroll, Belichick hit the market. And so a coach that thinks right now they are safe might actually not be safe. That could be the Chicago Bears. I think it might be the New York Giants potentially. a reunion of Belichick going back home to the New York Giants, where he was won a ring as a defensive coordinator. And they probably want to keep Belichick out of the division. They don't want him going to Washington. There's been speculation maybe the Cowboys could be that team. I don't know if Jerry Jones will give up enough power to go bring in someone like Bill Belichick, but he's not scared to make big moves either. If they go one and done, what if the Eagles go one and done? Could Sirianni be gone and they bring in somebody? So fascinating. I think it's 8 open, a quarter of the league, 8 teams, right? A quarter of the league right now has head coach vacancies, and then there's a dark horse team that still might go snag one of these coaches. So fascinating with the coaching carousel, what's going on in the NFL right now.
I think it's with Chicago, with like these openings around the league, you have a great opportunity to kind of reset. I mean, Ben Johnson, I think he's done a terrific job with and that's the first name, right? Ben, but Johnson, the offensive coordinator with Detroit.
Yep.
Like, you wouldn't want him to come in as your offensive coordinator and either coach either Justin Fields or restart with his own quarterback with Caleb Williams. I think that would be my move.
If you keep Justin Fields, you know who I think the Bears should hire is our guy. Now I'm blanking on his name. A dude from that coached Kaepernick, offensive coordinator with Harbaugh, and then went to Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Greg
Roman.
Greg Roman, thank you, Greg Roman. That's the kind of coach Justin Fields needs. Maximize his talent. That would be it'd be at least fun. I don't know if you're going to keep Justin Fields. That is, and it seems like everybody there loves Fields and loves Eberflus. And so I don't know, but I don't know I don't know any top offensive coordinating candidate that's going to want to go there, because it might be a one and done situation anyway. So if that's the case, then just start over and go draft Caleb Williams. That's what I thought they should have done. And
and you get to reset that rookie quarterback contract money. Even though you are talking about like a top pick, that's more expensive than a Brock Purdy, but it's still cheaper than what you're paying per year for one of the more elite guys.
I think yesterday when we talked about Pete Carroll, we sold him short because we didn't talk about his history with the 209 Croc.
Oh yeah, UOP.
Pete Carroll, born in San Francisco, by the way. He went to high school in the North Bay, Larkspur, California, just north of where I am right now, and went to college at UOP in Stockton, defensive coordinator for the 49ers in 95 and 96.
Real quick, he not only played at UOP, he did coach there too as a grad assistant.
Okay, so that's where he got
with like Hugh Jackson, John Gruden, they were there as well.
A lot of really good coaches there. Yeah, California back in the day had San Francisco State had Andy Reid and Mike Holmgren, and Pete Carroll was at UOP, and all those other guys, like crazy coaches back in the day. Came from
two universities that no longer have a football program.
Yeah, exactly. You could the history books of the NFL were rewritten, and the colleges don't even have those football programs that produce those coaches anymore.
Not only does UOP not have a football program or history books or anything like that, they don't even have a football stadium. They like blew the whole football stadium up.
Todd in the chat says Harbaugh makes sense with the Chargers. We were talking about that. I thought Harbaugh was the perfect fit for the Chargers and Justin Herbert. But what about this? So Pete Carroll, USC, he's a California guy born and raised. What about Pete Carroll going down to the Chargers to finish his career?
I think he fits the vibe, man. Like, this is a high energy old man, runs around. He comes off as a guy that you just want to play for. There was a picture that Russell Wilson posted to Twitter or X, and it was all the guys. It was the Legion of Boom. It was Russell Wilson, and they all flew out to look like have a little party or going off party, whatever you want to call it, with their head coach. So that just tells you how everybody feels about him. I'm curious to see who shows up for Bill Belichick.
Yeah, they were near tears with Belichick and Robert Kraft at their press conference announcing everything. They didn't take questions. They just had their statements. They kind of hugged each other at the end. Kraft said he was feeling a little bit sick or had a cold, or else he would have kissed him or something like that. And then they walked off the podium. That was like the last thing he said. So yeah, it's wild times we're in right now, and we'll see where all these coaches land. But it'll be fascinating. And I just you hope the Seahawks don't land some great all-time coach, right? Because there's already too many good coaches, I think, right now in the NFC West. There's not room for one more of those guys. How about this connection that I just thought about? Los Angeles Chargers, Spanos. Where are the Spanos family from?
Stockton, California. Let's go.
Oh, there you go.
They're a big sponsor too of our 7-on-7 program. Every year the Spanos are a sponsor. Shout out to them.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's cool. All right. Yeah. Dan Quinn in the chat for the Seahawks. I like that. That'd be a perfect fit for the Seahawks. First of all, the 49ers shred that defense, and Dan Quinn's got to really, I mean, come on, you can't run that much cover 3 these days. And, living in the past. There's no Richard Sherman, there's no Earl Thomas left. They got some good players, good young players in Seattle. Be interesting to see who they get, but I think it'd be good for the 49ers if they did get Dan Quinn. Not that he's not worthy of being a coach. He's a good coach, but that's not a scare. There's a lot of options that I think would be a lot worse for the 49ers if the Seahawks hired him than Dan Quinn. Jim Tomsula. Hey, Jimmy T's got a ring, okay? European Football League or whatever it's called. Championship caliber coach.
I still feel like he was dealt just the rawest of raw hands. And it's like he's made out to be the village idiot. And maybe he was never supposed to be a coach. I know he kind of came off a little funny. He farted in the press conference when they first interviewed him. Allegedly. Yeah. All right. But he did do a good job of kind of like acting like it didn't happen. My daughter does that. She'll poot and then act like nothing happened. That's what Tom Sula did. But the dude had like the worst offseason in 49ers history. Balky did nothing to help but sign Thad Lewis or whenever it was one of those years. I think, you know what? It was Thad Lewis one year. I want to say the Tom Sula year, he only signed like a kicker, like Joe Nedney or somebody. It was like just a kicker and that's it. And nobody else. After you lost Patrick Willis, Chris Borland, eventually you lost Alden Smith, Justin Smith retired. You lost Upati, you lost Michael Crabtree, Frank Gore. You could just go on and on and on, all the players that lost. And it's like he did nothing to help him. And it's like, all right, Tom Sula, go win some football games. He wins 5 games. And they're like, he's terrible. Fire him. It's like, well, what do y'all expect?
Yeah, he's not an NFL head coach. He did a really good job with whatever league he was coaching in this year. And really good defensive line coach, though. He should be back in the league coaching a defensive line somewhere. Maybe a college defensive coordinator or something like that. A lot of energy. Big energy guy. It's like Pete Carroll. Maybe he'll meet up with Pete Carroll with the Chargers or something like that. All right. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Wildcard weekend is coming. When we get back here, we still might not know because next time we talk, Monday Night Football will not have happened yet. And we might be waiting to find out who wins that game to see who the 49ers end up playing if both the Cowboys and the Lions end up winning this weekend. Phil Dawson was the kicker, not Joe Nedney.
Yeah, I knew it was one of those kickers.
Yeah.
But that was like his only signing of the offseason. How do you get away with that? And then the Jaguars say, you know what? We really like the way you do business. Let's bring you on the BRG.
He wears he's a sharp suit wearer, I think is maybe how he's able to get these jobs. Thanks to all the everydayers.
Just like move.
Appreciate everybody. Croc and I will be back after Sunday football action right here, Locked On 49ers.